He is Incarnate Word head coach Clint Killough. I am John Brice of FootballScoop.com. This is the Our Coaching Network podcast. We're continuing to roll along here in July. It is technically a lot of vacation time for people. I'm still grinding behind the microphone. Coach, your coffee is so hot. It's steaming up the screen, I think. But welcome to the pod. We appreciate the chance to have you on.
Yeah, no doubt. Thank you guys for having me. Excited about it.
Yeah, excited to dive into this conversation. You're still one of the youngest head coaches in all of college football. You and Mike Willis up at Marist are a couple of the youngest ones, along with Billy Kosh at Stony. So, anyway, you've had a fascinating journey already. You grew up in Texas, where high school football, I think, might be bigger than college or pro football. Certainly, some of the stadiums are phenomenal. Just when did you know you wanted to get into coaching, and even in just 2 years as a head coach, what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned?
Yeah, I always kind of had an itch, always kind of had an intrigue of it. I mean, even from Little League, my father was my Little League football coach. And just the structure and that environment was something that I always kind of gravitated towards. Going through high school, hey, maybe I'll coach one day, those types of things. It started to kind of become real after I came out of college. So going into my senior year, I kind of bounced around a little bit. I spent a semester at Texas Tech and then a semester at Texas State my redshirt freshman year when I was trying to figure out life in my own impatience in terms of as a competitor. Ended up at Incarnate Word and FCS school and well, obviously where I'm at now. And then going into my senior season, I was a finance major, so I thought I was going to be Wolf of Wall Street and go do all those sorts of things. And then midway through my senior season, we're on the road at McNeese State in Lake Charles, and my father actually he collapsed with a stroke about 2 hours before kickoff. And so I went in the game, played the game, don't remember a lick of the game. My dad ends up having open heart surgery. I finished the season out, and I work a desk job in the financial world for about 6 months. And I'm kind of figuring out like this 9 to 5 and sitting behind a desk isn't really for me. And I miss ball so much. And then my dad actually his health took a downturn. And then June, so about 6 months after I graduated from college, my father passed away. And we had some talks when his health started, going down and stuff, some real life talks as a father and son. And he was a little bit skeptical of the coaching thing just because in terms of, the financial piece of like, hey, you're going to go GA and how much are you going to make a month? And, I know you like to, you want to live this way and provide and all these things. So he had a little bit of skepticism. And when he passed, I said, all right, Dad, well, you can't tell me anything now. So I'm going to start this coaching career. And so when he left, man, I just had a conviction because, and this coaching profession, it's so much further than the X's and O's, to be totally honest with you, especially in today's college game. Like I'm still a firm believer that relationships drive this game, especially in the recruiting world. Because obviously you're upper echelon, they get all the money and all the NIL and all those sorts of things. But I really think that you can win on the recruiting trail, especially in the transfer portal, by having a kid believe in your vision for him and the relationship that you're building with him. And I had a great role model for about 23 years of my life that coached me through life. And I know a lot of young guys don't get as blessed and as fortunate as I was. And that's what made me make the decision. Hey, this is what I'm going to do. So, and probably the thing that I've learned in the first couple of years as a head football coach, and I would maybe learned is not the right word, solidified, because this is a point that my father made to me when I was young, and kind of the mentors in my game, guys like Eric Morrison, GJ Kinney, put good people around you, put good coaches around you because they make you a better football coach. And that's something that's probably in the first couple of years that has really solidified in my brain, because we've been really, really successful here at Incarnate Word for a spell since I've been able to take over as the head football coach here. And that's something that is it's a key ingredient, is make sure there's good people around you, because you can't, as much as you try, you can't do it all on your own. That's for sure.
Bunch of topics to get to today. Really excited to be visiting with Clint Killough, head coach at Incarnate Word, here on the Our Coaching Network podcast. I am John Brice of FootballScoop.com. You touched a little bit there on the influence of your late father. I lost my father 3 years ago yesterday, so kind of
Sorry.
can relate in that regard. But I know he was a tremendous influence on you, not just as your coach. What are some of the lessons you still carry with you today that you know without a doubt every time you use that phrase, every time you emphasize something, that that's your dad speaking through you?
Oh man, it's funny. I had a conversation on the turf this morning at one of the workouts. Our strength coach had an instruction, and a kid kind of looked at him like, "Why are you telling it to me like that?" And I went over and had the listen to what he's saying, not how he's saying it conversation. So that's
Yeah.
definitely something. You got to have thick skin in this game, and you just kind of have to continue to progress. And I think, the more these young guys can understand that concept in this world today, and that their emotions and their knee-jerk reaction and like, hey, I got all the answers. You got two ears and two eyes for a reason, and you got one mouth. So just continuing that basis, and that's a little bit old school, but that's something that he instilled in me. Another one is just day to day, be purposeful. Like I'm a big in not just checking boxes, and I can come up with a bunch of different analogies. One kick 10,000 times type of guy, and something that I've instilled in this program and built this program on, is winning with intention. And there's pillars that go along with it: effort, love, trust, that we've kind of molded, and our guys can kind of relate to. Because I'm not going to throw different slogans all the different time at them, but I want to make sure that they're purposeful and they move with intention. So yeah, those are a couple things that he put into me. And again, to be honest with you, it's crazy that, and it'll just be a random day, and I'll something will hit me or something will happen, and I'll be like, that makes sense. There's so many times when you're a young kid, and dad's telling you something, or he's repeating himself, or dad, I know, or whatever the case may be. And then just as you go through life on a random day, something will happen. You'll be like, man, there he is. You were right.
That's appreciate that insight. That's I think some powerful stuff there that is not only good for me to hear, but good for the audience to hear as they consume this podcast along the way. You've been there at Incarnate Word for several years now. It is your alma mater, as you alluded to, and you talked about recruiting. So I want to go a number of different ways with those components. But first, I want to focus on the success that the program has had, and certainly it's had tremendous success the past 2 years with you as head coach. 20 wins, going to the playoffs, things like that, conference championship. But over the last 4 years, you've been a part of really unprecedented success at Incarnate Word, where the program has won, I think, 41 or 42 games during that time frame. And you've been there helping build it from the onset of this era of success. What have you identified as the keys? What are the foundational pillars that have allowed Incarnate Word to not be a flash in the pan program? We see teams come out of nowhere and have a 9, 10, 11 win season. They don't always stay there. Incarnate Word appears poised to stay there.
Yeah, I think we've built an identity. I think when Eric Morris took this job in 2018, I think that there was a bunch of kind of naturally given intangibles, being in the city of San Antonio, kind of that Central Texas, having that blend, but creating an identity that we can continuously recruit coaches and players to, that can be successful. Like when I was a player, I mean, we were about a 500 ball club. We went 500 my sophomore year, and then my senior year. And we were an 11, 12, 21 personnel team. On third down, we got an 11P, and you knew we were throwing the football. You know what I'm saying? Our identity didn't really match. And I think that's where the 500 came from. And as players, you know, these guys are like, they're like walking lie detectors, and
Yeah.
they're pretty sharp. And I don't think they get as much credit as they need to. And maybe that's the young coach in me, but like I'm super observant of these guys, and they're brilliant. Obviously they're a little naive and immature from time to time, but if you steer them in the right direction, like they're hit, they know what's going on. And then I spent the time at BG, and then when Eric got the job in 2018, I'm sitting there as a GA, and I'm like, ding, like I just had this conviction, like I got to get back, for several reasons. One, Eric was a guy that when I was in college, like when he was at Texas Tech, like a touchdown he scored against Texas when Crabtree won the ball game. I mean, I
Right.
was like, oh my God, like this dude,
Right.
like that's me, dude. Like I want to be that. Obviously I knew he was an air raid principal guy. So,
Right.
I love that too. I'm a 5'9" slot receiver, I love that.
Right.
And then I also knew that like I had a niche, and there wasn't a ton of people that had come out of Incarnate Word, especially in the coaching world. And so I figured if I could get my foot in the door, I could be enough of a problem solver to where I could find it. He could need me. Like he could see like, hey, there's value in this guy. So just the excitement around. So when I came back and he instilled obviously the air raid principles, we're running Y cross, we're running, mesh game, good quick game, all those sorts of things. Um, you started to see the momentum. Obviously, we won the conference in 18. But I think, and it was unique too, because not only did the scheme fit, it fit the personnel we could recruit. One of the hardest position to recruit, especially at the FCS level, is offense and defensive linemen. Ready-made guys too, because when you get those high school guys, it's tough for a 17, 18-year-old kid to come into those trenches and be physical against guys that have been in college for 21, 22. You know what I'm saying? Like they've been in college for a while. So it just meshed, and that brand just kind of carried, and then 19, we had a little bit of a lull. I think we thought, those guys thought we were going to just win another conference championship and we were going to ride off into the sunset. Then COVID hits, crazy time in the world. And then Cam Ward gets on campus, which is obviously ignites a system that already fits this place. And it just started rolling. And then we won the conference in 21. Eric and Cam went to Wazoo. GJ Kinney comes in, which is something where I've like philosophically from an offensive standpoint, it's really a blend of both of those guys. There's air raid principles, but then there's the deep choice that kind of is that Art Browse. GJ got some from Gus Malzahn and some run and shoot principles to that whole thing. Obviously, Mac Leftwich is going to do a ton of it at Texas Tech, but that just kind of it shrunk down a little bit of the old school 90 series drop back from an air raid perspective and incorporated live dynamic decision-making ability for the skill positions, which is something that we've been able to recruit at a really, really high level. I love that dynamic of this game. I think, again, I go back to why I coach football, the relationship that I had with my father and the mentorship. And so the recruiting piece to me is something that I take a tremendous amount of pride in. I'm not going to shy away because a kid has a couple of G5 offers. Like I'm going to go recruit that kid because I think that I can put something in his ballpark where he knows, hey, this is a better opportunity and a better fit for me to be successful if I want to go to the NFL and if I want to put up these numbers and all these sorts of things. So there's been a number of guys that we've recruited to this place that had bigger and better things. But again, I think the fit is huge here, and we've done that from a personnel standpoint, from a philosophical standpoint. So that's where the success has been, and that's how it'll be as long as I'm here.
I want to dive more into that. I'm going to ask one quick, hopefully easy layup question here before that. You referenced Cam Ward, obviously just became the #1 pick in the NFL draft earlier this spring. What is your favorite one or two Cam Ward memories that maybe occurred on the practice field or away from the game field where you realized, as I'm sure you did on a daily basis, how uniquely special he is?
There's two of them, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna text you a video that probably nobody has of Cam Ward.
Okay, I can't wait.
The first experience is obviously at the camp because the craziest thing is we knew about the kid from West Columbia. We knew he was in a triple option, big kid, flashed a big arm talent. But when he was actually at camp, the feel of when the ball came off his hands was just kind of like yo, look at this dude. That type of like, hey, everybody calm down and don't like just get all giddy like a little schoolgirl because you've seen this ball whistle off of his hand. Let's say let everybody calm down. And it's like, how many offers does he have? None. And so let's really calm down here. That was probably the first one. And then the second one, this is a funny one. So we're playing Stephen F. Austin in the first home playoff game at Incarnate Word back in 2021 at home. And obviously you've probably seen the videos of like when Cam goes off to the side, he's running out. He's almost walking out of bounds, correct?
Yes.
This is post him doing that, walking out of bounds, which used to drive Emo crazy. And he was walking back on the field, and he's walking side by side next to a SFA football player. I want to say it was a kid named Brevin Randall.
Okay.
Good player. and he's walking back, and he does something with his hand, like he gives a little gesture with his hand, like he puts it right under his face, and the kid looks down at it, and he looks at it and starts laughing, and then Cam hits him with a neck on the back, and then just walks off. This is like right post play. We got the signals coming in, so I'll send it to you, but it's hilarious. So
Yes, please, please, please
I
send me
will,
that.
I
And
will.
yeah, I like the descriptor of his arm talent there. It's like he supplied the steam for your coffee this morning with that juice in his arm.
Exactly, it's still going.
Yeah, that's strong. You know, you've touched on recruiting. I think you're absolutely 100% correct. Like kids today, they see through inauthenticity. They know if you're fake, and fake does not work with today's kids. You can do a lot of things. Fake does not work. You're a San Antonio native. You played your high school ball in San Antonio. You initially went away to Big Texas Tech, FBS ball. You came back, starred at Incarnate Word. You got Jeff Traylor doing big things at UTSA. What kind of pride is there from you as a lifelong resident of that community, and what kind of pride do you see out in the community on a day in, day out basis there in San Antonio? Because the high school football has been good forever, but now college football is on the map in San Antonio, and it's largely because of Incarnate Word and UTSA.
Yeah, this city has been hungry for a football team for a long time. And again, you say I'm a lifer, like I've been in San Antonio, Texas, my whole life. Like I was here
Right.
when Katrina hit, and there was talks about the Saints coming to town. And they would come play a travel game, and we were in the Alamo Dome. I was at the game. The Alamo Bowl has been a thing every single year. So this town is a football town that's hungry for football. So obviously UTSA is kind of the banner school, which is great. I got all the love in the world for UTSA because I think any sort of football pub is great for this town because again, I've been around the whole time. Only thing we got to root for is the Spurs, which for about 20 years was great because they made the playoffs every year. We're trying to find that back out again. But we've kind of started to come onto the scene. I think the president was talking, Dr. Evans was talking a couple weeks ago at an event and said something like, in the past calendar year, the UIW football team has created over like $300 million advertising
Wow.
from our playoff game. Like we'd have to spend over $300 million to recreate that from Cam
Right.
getting drafted to the playoff game to we got a wideout right now that's going to play on Sundays who stood on his head and started the whole standing on his head fiasco after a touchdown.
Right.
So just what we've been able to create is tremendous. I'm proud of it, to be totally honest with you. We got UTSA. I want to say it's week 4 this year. So I got that one circled. I'm excited about going into the Alamo Dome. That's for sure.
That's big time. A couple of quick things there. You referenced the Spurs. Wembanyama's got eligibility left. Like you should at least be trying to get him to come block kicks for you, right? Like,
Something just stand straight up,
yeah,
man.
just stand straight up. It's done.
Straight
Like
up.
you can't kick through that. And then the other thing I was going to ask, you referenced it, your wide receiver standing on his head. The first time you saw that, what was your reaction?
That's pretty sweet. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, it's crazy because he got a flag on it,
Right.
and to be honest with you, I laced the official up, like absolutely laced him, because he told me that he did it in front of him, and I watched the whole thing happen, and I'm like taunting, yada yada yada. But he got the picture after it went viral. I saw him a couple weeks later. I said, the whole country loved that. I hope you didn't read the comments because people gave it to you worse than I did on social media about throwing a flag for it because you
Yeah.
can see the flag come into play, and
Right.
I'm just like, what? The kid, let him have a little. Maybe that's the young guy in me, but let him have a little bit of fun. So.
Maybe like your guy should have at least gotten some sort of epic NIL deal. That's the quintessential moment to strike a legitimate NIL deal when you have a
100%.
viral sensation like that. You've referenced it a few times. Your youth, again, you got the job when you were 29 and a half years old. You just turned 32 last month. Happy late birthday. You're already a 20-game winner. You were recruited by Texas Tech. You went to go play for the Red Raiders, finished your career at Incarnate Word. That youth, that FBS experience, that FCS playing experience, how much does that help you on a daily basis as you not only recruit your future players, but you fortify your program and the players you have right now?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I was there for a cup of coffee. So not a huge. I mean, the working of it and then just like the business side of it,
Right.
you know. I think that that was kind of the biggest eye opener and the best experience I could have from it. You know, it's just in terms of like it's a business. I mean, and you're gonna get there and it's you either perform or it's the next guy up. And every year there's 4 and 5 star guys showing up and it's good talented football players, you know. So you know, the biggest pull to be successful right now is probably that just understanding that business side of it. But at the same point in time, like carrying over the fact that like within that world, if I can be intentional enough with the way I create relationships, like that's going to bode the most success for me, you know. And you know, again, going through the experience of losing my father here and everything like that, like I just, you know, you realize what those relationships can kind of do for you, you know, and getting the most out of kids and stuff like that. And that's something that obviously this place has allowed me to do, and that this game has allowed me to do. So that's probably the biggest.
He is Incarnate Word head coach Clint Killough on the Our Coaching Network podcast. I'm John Brice of FootballScoop.com. Been visiting 20-ish, 25 minutes, so I don't want to abuse your time, but this is great conversation, so I am going to steal a
Oh,
little
good.
bit more of your time. I appreciate that.
Technically, this is vacation, so we're
Yeah,
good.
there you go. You referenced it a few times now, that authenticity, that realness that permeates your program. You have to have that not just on the field but off the field. So what are some of the ways that you also sort of manifest that realness in your program? Is it having dudes over to your house? Is it doing stuff there in the San Antonio community? If you don't mind peeling back the curtain there, I'm fascinated by some of those elements that help a program weather tough times when they come. And you haven't had many tough ones the last 2 years because you won 20 games and a conference title and been to the playoffs.
Yeah, I will say we did. We lost the conference. So the first year I was the head coach, we ended up going 9-2, and we lost the conference. A conference we could have clinched the conference with 3 games left in the season against Nichols, who we opened up with.
Yeah.
They came in and they, to be quite frankly, they beat our ass at home. And
Okay.
we had the you know the signs and I mean, people were planning for a celebration afterwards, which drove me up the wall. But we came in and got a lot of humility. So we've been able. I've got a knack for creating chips on the
Okay.
shoulder. Does that make sense? I'm a huge
Yeah.
Michael
Yeah.
Jordan guy. I think I've seen The Last Dance 100 times. And so just being able to create that motivation, I think, is because the hardest thing is to repeat success.
Right.
And so we've done a really good job of creating that. Um, you know, again, we talk about these guys being walking lie detectors and being authentic and everything like that. And I'm not going to throw a bunch of slogans out there that are a bunch of great looking words and look good on paper because they don't stick and they're not the reference points for those guys when they're going through real life. Um, but I think that if you continue to do things consistent, um, it helps those relationships. Um, from, hey, the lights are on every morning at 6 a.m. and we're in here and we're going. It's time to work. We're a morning practice team, so they know every single day that these coaches are going to come to work and they better bring their lunch pail too. I think that having an open door policy in the coaches hallway,
Yeah.
one of my favorite things, and GJ was big on this too. And again, I've been blessed to be around some really good coaches, young coaches that
Yeah.
help me, but just having that open door, being able to walk down the hallway and there's a kid in this office and this office and there's 2 in here, and they might not even talking about ball. I mean, they're just talking life, whatever the case may be. Now, we do things like today, the offensive line is going over to my uncle's house and we're cooking them all steaks. You know, we do position group stuff like that. Like no doubt where we are in settings to where it doesn't have to do with football. You know, and these
Yeah.
guys can just kind of talk and tell us what's going on with life. You know, and to where if we do those things enough and they understand that like I'm a real person and I go through my trials and tribulations and everybody's got something going on in life. And so when something hits real with them, like they come in here and they're like, Coach, can I talk? And my first thought is, oh, what happened? Who's trying to poach you? What are you
Yeah.
trying to, whatever the case may be? And then they sit down and they want to talk about life. And it's the most rewarding thing in the world. It's like, hey, this is why I do this thing. Um, you know, so and I tell people this, you know, I grew up middle class. I didn't grow up in a gated community. And when you walked in my house, it was warm. You knew you could sit on the couch. Somebody would scoot over for you, and you know there was some food coming or something. So I'm trying to create that same environment in this building. And I think it's been, like a guy like Zach Calzada, who is
Right.
obviously was a tremendous player at A&M. The Saban Slayer in 2021 came here. He actually he went from A&M to Auburn, kind of had some turmoil, went downhill a little bit, and he came to this place and really figured out his love language in terms of being a leader and being a teammate, and having people follow him. And I think that he would speak to this too. Obviously, he's at Kentucky now, so he's back in the SEC. But I'm sure that he would light up talking about his time in terms of how to galvanize a football team around him here.
You've referenced some different elements of the transfer portal a few times over this conversation. Certainly, Zach is chief amongst them. Again, as we visit with Clint Killough, head coach at Incarnate Word here on Our Coaching Network podcast, and I'm John Brice of FootballScoop.com. I like these conversations to be organic, and I feel like we've visited long enough that I can ask that because you've made reference to it. How do you navigate the transfer portal today? Because you've had it both ways. You've gotten some FBS guys who realized Incarnate Word is a splendid fit for them, and you've lost some dudes to the FBS who have done well for you and probably parlayed that into a nice payday and another opportunity.
You learn not to fight it.
Yeah,
It's a wave. It's a wave that you can't fight. You know what I mean? Just ride the wave. And you kind of got to go with it and understand that like a kid can make it. They're kids, and they can make decisions at any point in time. And I try to be, and obviously this is when I'm on the defensive in terms of trying to keep guys in my program. I try to put myself in their shoes too, and hopefully I've done a good enough job of understanding who they are as people and what their life situation is like, how they were raised, all those sorts of things. And I think being transparent and talking about it, to be totally honest with you, we lost 8 guys this last cycle. 7 of them went P4,
wow.
and the other one went to a school where he's from, and I think being transparent about it and being honest and open. Hey, I think, and there's some guys that I said, I don't know if it's a good situation. You got, 6 months of football left. Like, I hope you're in a good situation because you got a chance to play in the NFL. And if you go there and you don't produce, you're going to answer questions, maybe not the right way, but you're going to answer the questions that the NFL scouts want to know. And if you don't answer it by not really giving yourself enough time to get a great opportunity, they'll pay to answer it by giving you an opportunity to play in the NFL, those types of things. And again, I love all those guys. They laid it out on the line for me, so at the end of the day, like, I'm going to love them. This is a life thing with me. But they're kids and they're going to do what they want to do. Now there's other dynamics of it. Like, you got to have transparent conversations. And again, like, and not naming any names or anything, but I've had kids that have come in, and I'm not big on like the poaching thing. Like, that happens, no doubt, but I'm not going to sit here and I'd be here all day long. If we got a good football team and we got good players, it is what it is. Like, hopefully I have a good enough relationship. Like, I've had a young man come in and say, "Hey coach, like, if we're just keeping it a buck, like, I could go make X number of dollars right now. What do you think?" My response is, well, hey, you wait 6 more months. Maybe this was in the spring semester. You wait 6 more months and you play a full season, you put good tape on, that number might triple.
Right.
So in this, as a competitor, right, we always talk about betting on ourselves. So, the system, you're going to get a ton of playing time. You're going to put great tape on. How about you trust me? It came to fruition, those types of things.
Right.
And then in terms of like recruiting the portal, we have my staff has a good understanding of what we're looking for.
Okay.
And they are going to go out there and they're going to comb through that portal, and we're going to find guys that maybe have a flash here or there, or maybe they weren't productive in 2024, but in 2023 they were an All-American and everybody's forgot about them because we're going to just peel it off the top because that's the easy and convenient. Everybody's recruiting this kid. Who are we not? Let's buy low, and then they can sell themselves high, or whatever the case may be. So
Right. All right. I don't want to spend too much time on the portal because I'm sure you're as sick of talking about it as I am. I am curious your opinion though. One portal window or 2 portal windows, when would you like that? One portal window, when do you believe that should be and why?
I think it should be, and this is a perspective of an FCS coach that just lost 5 starters after the spring window.
Holy smokes.
Oh yeah. So we lost 3 at the mid-year. And then I thought we were going to be able to hold on to everybody. But again, like, I mean, golly, it was a wild west, boy.
Yeah, it was the last phase of
Oh,
desperate money. So
yeah, it's wild. Um, I think it should be in December, because I think there's two sides of this, right? There's the player, and then there's the coach, which the coach kind of doubles as the program, the team. I think that it gives the players the ability to go through a spring and bump their head
yeah,
so that the following fall they can be successful. I think that doubles into when programs, obviously with the whole settlement and paying these kids and all these things, like you want return on your investment, you want ROI.
right.
And that gives yourself the ability to coach him and to grow a relationship to where you can push those buttons and get that kid to what you think you can make him be. Like we still have to project these kids of like, hey, he's got this, and this skill set, or I can take him to this level. Now, let me give myself enough time instead of this kid goes through a whole spring. Then he doesn't get here till June. Then I got a month and a half, 2 months to get him ready. Then we're in camp and he can't pick. Like they need some time, and from my perspective, at this level, it's pretty dang hard when you lose 5 guys that were starters for you the previous year that were all conference, good players, a couple of them all Americans, and I got to replace them in a, that pool is shrunk and
Right.
it's crunch time, and we got to like vacation don't exist, bro.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
here. Not if you want to keep winning and keep competitive. At least for me, like if I were to take vacation, I'd be standing there the whole time just thinking to myself like, what are we doing here? What are we doing today?
Yeah. Certainly you have to find a way to microwave your roster now to get where you need to get. All right. We're about to the end here with Clint Killough, head coach at Incarnate Word on the Our Coaching Network podcast, John Brice of FootballScoop.com. You play 2 games in the month of August. You open camp really, really soon. How do you prepare for that? And your season is halfway over by October 4th. What are the challenges of that by having that accelerated calendar?
Uh, I'd probably flip it into it. I mean, it's a great opportunity. Obviously, it's a great opportunity for our program to be the first game of the season to be on national television. I'm sure there'll be a million people watching that game because it's the only game and the first game, and everybody's itching to get on it. So it's great from that perspective, and great from the institutional and the players, yada yada yada. Um, it's just a planning thing. To be totally honest with you, it accelerates everything. It's a little bit funky feeling,
Yeah.
but I mean, this is a game about adapting, especially FCS football is a game about adapting and being a problem solver. And that's something that I pride myself on. So just being intentional on how we plan things out. We have a tremendous strength staff. One of the first things I told you was putting good people around me, and my strength and conditioning coach, I think, is elite. And just having a good plan for these guys. I mean, they've been going since May 23rd, so we're just a week ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
If you look at it like that, then it really doesn't bother you. So yeah, I'm ready to go. It gets here a little bit quicker.
All right, last question here. You've been an incredible interview. Have loved it. Your juice is as obvious as the steam that we've seen coming off your coffee. So, in addition to coffee, how do you explain the energy, the hyperkinetic persona that I think you exude here?
Um, Purpose, having a purpose, loving what I do. I got the best job in the world. Um, I again, and just my life experiences and what this game and the relationships that I've been able to build through this game. Like, I mean, the 6 pallbearers at my father's funeral were all teammates of mine. Like just those life experiences and understanding like the impact or the opportunity to make an impact on these kids, and so that they make decisions, and then it's just a trickle down effect to whoever they impact in their life. I think just having that simplistic but deep purpose in what I'm doing, and just waking up every day like, man, I got to get to work.
Yeah.
I think that's a blessing. Like I love what I do, and I get in early, we leave late, and I'm like, let's do it again. And it hasn't gotten old since I started doing this in 2017. It's just gotten better and better. And every aspect of it, I love all the aspects of it. And which my favorite, just being able to be around the guys and watching them grow and competing,
Yeah.
that's where me and, like Eric Morris has been a huge influence on my career, and we bonded over the competitiveness. Um, and so just having purpose and enjoying the competition is where it comes from, and just kind of having that chip on your shoulder.
Well, competing is something you guys are doing at an incredibly elite level. Like I said, 20 wins in your first 2 seasons as head coach. You're closing in already on being Incarnate Word's all-time wins leader. I wish I was a little closer to San Antonio. I would crash your uncle's house tonight and steal a steak. But Clint Killough, I appreciate the heck out of you visiting with us today.
I appreciate it, John. Thank you, brother.
Absolutely. For Incarnate Word head coach Clint Killough, John Brice of FootballScoop.com, this has been the latest Our Coaching Network podcast. Until the next time, enjoy this one.